Welcome back. We are on the hot tags of the week. Anything that was interesting, random, odd, or important that happened in the world of professional wrestling. A couple different things are going on. Let's talk about one of the biggest topics that's got a lot of controversy. Actually, there's two things that are going on with Stone Cold Steve Austin that are controversial this week, and I don't really know why that's just popping up, but one that has gotten people talking is that Stone Cold Steve Austin is on the cover of WWE 2K16, and a lot of people are complaining, saying that it should be someone else. If you were the person in charge of doing this, I mean, we've had this kind of stuff in the past where they've done, like, the contest where you can do other shit, and people have put, like, Blue Meanie on there and stuff, but who do you guys think should have been on there? Is Austin a valid person just because of his legacy, or should they have gone with somebody younger and on the current roster?
I think the best person would have been Brock Lesnar. I think he's your biggest cross-stream star that you have, and he's a guy who would just look cool on there. I mean, you see this game with this big, mean-looking dude with these tattoos on him, and you've seen him, like, punch people out numbers of times. Who the hell wouldn't want to play that? I mean, Stone Cold's cool. I don't have as much of a problem with this as a lot of other people. I just do think Brock Lesnar would have been better. Has
Lesnar ever been on the cover of one of them?
Yes, he has. He had a game named after him. Here Comes the Pain. It was the first one they did that wasn't rock-themed, actually, so that was pretty significant.
Yeah, I think he would have been a better pick this time around. Stone Cold, definitely has, the legacy behind him. But since he isn't as relevant these days, I think they're just kind of cashing in on that. Hey, you guys like Stone Cold, right? Here, you should buy this game. I agree that Lesnar definitely would have been a better pick this time around, considering especially what's going on storyline-wise.
Last year it was Cena, right?
Yes.
And the year before that it was Punk?
The limited edition was Hulk Hogan.
Sting wasn't he? Or
Sting was the limited edition for last year.
Okay.
They had a couple limited editions, actually, because then the year before that they also had like an Undertaker one. But yeah, last year was John Cena. Year before that was
CM Punk and The Rock.
CM Punk. Year before that was Randy Orton. I don't remember before that, honestly. I think that was
the year before that was DX.
Sounds right, because that was when they did that tag team thing.
Yeah.
Yeah, so, I mean, if they weren't going to go with Brock Lesnar, I would think that the next best option would be Seth Rollins.
I would have gone with Seth Rollins.
Well, we know why, because he's beautiful, right?
For him being the current champion.
Yeah, that also is a reason the way it makes sense, because he's not even like a paper champion or something like that. He's been champion for a couple months now.
I'm just glad it wasn't Roman Reigns.
Even Roman Reigns would have made more sense to me than Steve Austin.
Why does it have to be one person? Like, some of my favorite covers are actually, like, the mid-2000s SmackDown vs. Raw covers where they'll have, like, 7 or 8 people on there. Mm-hmm. So, like, you could throw on Brock Lesnar, you could throw on Roman Reigns, Seth Rollins, Dean Ambrose, you could throw on Kevin Owens, John Cena, put them all on there together. That would look awesome.
Yeah, some of the pay-per-view posters do that. I mean, some of them do have one particular person on it, but a lot of them have multiple stars, so why not?
You know what I would kind of like to see?
Back in the day was the Just Bring It.
Just Bring It, what was that one?
The Rock.
Just Bring It was on PS2. It was The Rock with Kurt Angle, Mankind, and...
Well, that was an interesting cover thing, because what they did is they would have one star that was like the main guy in front, but the background, rather than just being like a gradient or something like that, was like actual photos of in-ring action, like Kurt Angle with an ankle lock on somebody, or someone doing a power bomb.
I don't know much about this game, like what their gimmick is. I know that they kind of try to do a gimmick each time around, but I still have only played like one of these 2K games and for like 10 minutes, and I thought that it was boring as shit.
They're fucking awful.
They seem like it. I never really liked wrestling games.
It takes so long to get the controls down. The matches just move at a snail's pace. They've completely fucked up the custom tool, like designing your own wrestler. It's awful now, which was one of the most fun things to do. They have a lot of work to do, and I expected the first year to be a little fuzzy. By the second year, I hope they would have their shit together. I'm not going to be getting this one right away. I'm going to need to see how it goes, and if I don't see really positive reviews, I'm probably going to skip for the first time in a long time.
For me, they got to revamp the countering system. I hate the reversal system. I don't know what they've done, but they fucking nerfed it.
I have not purchased a wrestling video game in over a decade, and I really don't plan on doing another one soon, unless I hear that it's absolutely amazing. But like based on the most recent one, like Mike was saying, it didn't blow people away. So unless they really overhaul it and make it something that I can't miss, I'm going to skip it.
Yeah, the last one I owned was Warzone.
Oh god, that was awful. That was on the PS1, wasn't
The
it?
game was fucking awful.
I had it for the N64, but or I think I had it for the N64.
Am
Yeah.
I thinking of? No, I was thinking of Raw as War.
No, Warzone was on both. But it was made by the same company, Acclaim, and they also made Raw as War, which was basically the same fucking game.
Yeah.
All of them were fucking terrible. Acclaim had no idea how to make a wrestling game, and neither does 2K.
But I would think that maybe a good gimmick for them to do for this one, and this might be a little overboard because a lot of people are kind of just like, you know, of course you would do this kind of thing, but NXT has really been taking things by storm. It'd be kind of interesting to me if they would have had, like, the 3 different versions of the thing where you could have, like, you know, like the Legends version, and you could have Austin on that one. And then you could have the current main roster one with Brock Lesnar or Seth Rollins, and then you can have like the NXT version and have Kevin Owens or Sami Zayn or something. Now, maybe do some kind of like a, I don't know, some kind of like storyline in the game or some kind of different mode or something where it's like an NXT takeover kind of thing with the main roster. Have the NXT guys, because it's supposed to have the most amount of people ever. And I have to imagine that the NXT people are in there.
Mm-hmm.
That would make sense to me. And, you know, you'd have, like, the people that would buy the Sami Zayn cover or the people that would buy the Rollins cover. You know what I mean? Like, I mean, they still might do that. It might just be that Austin's the first one that they wanted to promote. But it does seem like an odd choice to me to just be like, Austin for 2015. Because he's been around twice in the past year doing podcasts.
I have a feeling, like, maybe tensions really were bad with them, and this was like WWE's way of like bringing him back into the fold.
That would make sense.
Like, hey man, come on, we'll put you on the video game cover. How would you like that? You know?
Yeah, you get a little bit extra money because you're on the cover. I could see that.
Are you sure they just didn't get mixed up and thought to themselves, "Oh, we can't get Chris Jericho, so we go for the next best thing"?
Yeah.
Well, yeah. Is it really that big of a deal? It's just a fucking video game.
Yeah, well, people have been like bitching and complaining about it and stuff, and I think it's actually even funnier when you take into account the other thing that's happening this week with Austin, which is that Piper is saying that he was threatened to be fired from Podcast One because Will Sasso, the comedian, did an impression of Stone Cold on his show, and then they took it down, and Austin's got no like sense of humor, and Austin's basically saying the timeline's all off for everybody talking about this. This is months ago and stuff like that, which doesn't necessarily say, yeah, I did get pissed off. I think that this is an odd situation, but it looks to me to be a situation where they probably did have Austin bitching and complaining. And Piper strikes me as the type of person who is like, he wouldn't just go, oh, okay. He would like fight back. And I don't know. I mean, I'm looking at, like, this story that's coming out. I'm looking at Austin, that's the cover of 2K15. All the reports that there were some problems and all that. I'm getting the feeling that maybe Austin's being a real prick the past couple of months.
Austin never really was that nice of a guy. Let's not forget, this guy used to beat his wife.
Yeah, it's true. That's a downer. It's just like,
I mean, they always say he's the perfect example of the wrestler that takes their personality and turns it up a notch. Well, then his personality is a rebel who beats up their boss, beats up women, drinks lots of beer, gets rowdy, steals vehicles, runs things over other cars. That's Steve Austin.
JR's just like cheering him on at home.
Yo, real talk though. Have you ever listened to Roddy Piper's podcast?
No.
I haven't listened to any of them.
It's fucking horseshit. It's the absolute worst wrestling podcast I think I've ever listened to. His voice is terrible.
Really?
He has no timing. He just sounds like a rambling old fool. And he never should have had it to begin with. My guess is that they've been trying to sever this relationship for a long time. I'm sure Stone Cold and Roddy probably do have legitimate heat, but I don't think this is like the total reason. I think Stone Cold may have gotten upset, and they're like, all right, final straw, Piper, you're out of here.
He's worse than Taz's? I would assume that Taz was the worst.
No, Taz really wasn't that bad.
If it's not on Twitter, I don't believe it.
Yeah, see, I've only checked out the WWE Network ones. And one of Colt Cabana's and one of Jericho's.
The Colt Cabana one's the CM Punk one.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And the Jericho one was part 1 of his Kevin Smith one, and they talked about hockey the whole goddamn time, and I'm like, well, that's the last thing that I wanted to listen to Kevin Smith talk about. You know.
The only one I've listened to for Chris Jericho's, apart from the WWE one that was on the network, is the one you did with Seth Rollins. Because, you know, it's Seth Rollins.
See, that's the thing with these podcasts. I mean, and I'm sure it applies to us, too, when people are listening to us. Like, they come to Smack Talk to listen to a wrestling one, and they might like it when, you know, you and I and everybody, like, we talk about other shit, and that's probably why they listen to the All Talk show, and they listen to the Fanboys things, and they listen to, like, you know, whatever. But at the same time, if I click on, like, Jericho's podcast, I want to listen to him talk about wrestling. I don't give a shit about the music. So anytime he has a musician on, I'm instantly not going to listen to it. And Kevin Smith is a guy that I like his movies, and he has, like, the Fat Man on Batman podcast, and I love Batman, so I can listen to that guy ramble about Jason Todd for fucking 2 hours.
Yeah, but here's the thing. There's an audience for all of that.
Oh, there is,
There's
definitely.
a mass audience for that. There's not an audience for shitty podcasters.
Well, that's where it gets even worse to me, because if I wouldn't want to listen to Jericho talk about something that he's passionate about with music, the last thing I wouldn't listen to, even worse than that, is when somebody is rambling about nonsense and it's also not even entertaining. And if Piper is that type, I have no reason to listen to that either, because if he's talking about wrestling, at the very least, that would be something that would kind of keep my interest. But, I mean, I don't even listen to Jim Ross talk about wrestling, and that speaks volumes. Like, what does Piper talk about?
I was kind of thinking, that reminds me, you know, I'd want to hear him talk about wrestling, but that makes me think, have you guys watched The Unfiltered with Renee Young?
No.
New.
I've seen the one with Rollins. She did one with Barrett, and I like those, but it has too much of the personal side of stuff, you know, like talking about Rollins' dog and, you know, what Barrett likes to eat. That's cool and all, but I want to hear, since she knows the business so well, I want to hear her getting into in-depth about, you know, the moves, you know, about their wrestling career. More behind the scenes kind of stuff instead of
they don't like showing that stuff though.
But the fans like it.
Do they?
What they should talk about is Rollins' dick pics.
No, hold on. Do they? Because you got to consider what the most popular stuff on TV is, and it's those reality shows. That's what they're making.
Goddamn reality shows.
You know, they're basically doing like Cribs with WWE stars.
Kinda.
Yeah, but you don't get to check out the fridge. At least on Cribs, you got to check out what's
Instead of
inside their
cribs, they
fridge.
do fridges. Everybody's like, I got a lot of protein stuff. Some vegetables.
Oh shit! You see that picture of what Triple H had laid out for like his
meal? He was like, I'm going to eat this tomorrow.
But I'd like to see The Unfiltered with Renee Young, because I like her a lot. I like, you know, the segment has potential, but I want to see her doing more of like what Austin does on his podcast. I like Austin's podcast, but, you know, there's a lot of shoot stuff on there, so I'd like to see more of that. And I know
if she did that, why would we have a need for Austin's podcast?
Are you talking about the time when Renee Young and Seth Rollins had pancakes?
Yeah.
That was fucking awful.
It was, and it would have been better had it been more...
Wrestling pancakes?
Yeah, exactly. Wrestling pancakes.
Like, here's a pancake in the shape of the Ultimate Warrior. See, I like that kind of side, but at the same time, it depends on who it is, if they're interesting and stuff. Like, I'm enjoying Xavier Woods' new channel on YouTube, the gaming one, Up, Up, Down, Down. But it's more entertaining when he has the other wrestlers there. Like, the last episode was, they had to do, like, a challenge one. It was Jimmy Uso and Heath Slater playing 2K15. And, Heath Slater was Brock Lesnar, and Jimmy Uso was Jimmy Uso. And Jimmy Uso fucking beats Heath Slater. And because he lost, he had to do 5 pull-ups, and after he did the pull-up, when he was going down, Jimmy Uso would chop him. And that was interesting because it's like Xavier Woods is fucking weird. And Heath Slater is weird. And even in the background of it, like, Kofi pops up on this a lot. Like, Kofi and Xavier Woods are, like, really, really tight. And Kofi's hilarious because he's just like his New Day character. Like, he'll watch and he'll be like, oh, get him, son! Get him, son! Oh, ballin'! And shit like that. And fucking Damian Sandow is...
You know what I'm saying?
Basically doing a Kofi Kingston impression. He's just like spitting out random rap and stuff, and it's terrible, but it's amazing at the same time. And I like seeing, you know, that kind of backstage kind of their other personalities and stuff, but if they're not doing anything interesting, and like, I would imagine that if there was like something like that where, you know, they're interviewing or doing a YouTube video or something like that with somebody like Jack Swagger, that I would find it really just blah. Or like, somebody who's like Diego or something, like, you know. So a podcast person, to me, Piper's got mic skills and he's a big character, but I don't know what he talks about on his, and I've never been really drawn in. And somebody like Flair, I really could imagine that Flair's podcast is probably just nonsensical ramblings of a lunatic. I don't know, like, none of these guys really seem like they're people I need to listen to. And if Austin is kind of like the king of it, would you guys consider that?
As far as wrestling guys only, yeah, I would say he's the one who's done. I mean, he's arguably the greatest wrestler of all fucking time. Of course, he's going to have the best wrestling podcast out of all of them.
That's the only one that I listen to regularly.
I would think if he's like the guy, probably gets the best ratings and stuff like that, it does kind of make sense for Podcast One to sort of be like, well, let's not piss him off. But I don't know. We've talked a lot about Austin. Let's move on.
Well, just one more thing. I mean, yeah, Austin is the best and probably the biggest of all the wrestling podcasts. He's far from the biggest fish at Podcast One, though. I mean, they just signed on Shaq for a podcast, which is also very good. I recommend checking that out.
See, I actually would almost be more interested in hearing Shaq than some of the wrestlers.
Shaq is hilarious. The segment he starts off almost all the shows is they play like themes from white people television shows, like Family Ties. And like he has to guess what show it's from.
All right, this definitely sounds like something I would check out. Which, isn't that kind of awful? Like, I don't even like basketball.
No, they very rarely talk about basketball. That's the cool thing.
You give me Shaq talking about, like, I don't know. What's that fucking thing? What's the thing that, what's his name was on from Michael J. Fox, that TV show that he was on back in the day?
Family Ties.
That was Family Ties?
Yeah.
Oh, shit. All right.
The one Mike said.
Apparently Shaq and I don't know these.
You don't know the name of the show when you're told the name of the show. You're on a whole other level. And the real funny thing is every once in a while, they'll throw in one, like, Family Matters.
Right.
You'll get that, like, right away.
Perfect Strangers is another one that comes to my mind. That'd be great. Let's move on, though. We mentioned reality shows a little bit earlier in this. Kelly's going to be having a reality show, but it's not entirely about her. She's going to be on something called WAGS.
Is that the new drug she's doing?
It's going to follow the wives and girlfriends of sports people, athletes, and stuff like that.
Who the fuck is she fucking?
I don't have a clue. That was one of the questions I was going to ask you guys. I didn't think that she was involved in a relationship with anybody or anything. I mean, I don't follow her career because I don't care.
She take over freaking A-Rod from Tori? Like,
maybe. I don't know. I mean, I don't know a lot of these people anyway. Like, they could name somebody who's a big fucking baseball star or something. I don't know.
I'm going to Google this.
Ooh. The only thing I've ever paid attention to when it comes to Kelly since she's left have been, like, people will post up on websites, like, here's new pictures of Kelly on, like, some calendar thing. And I'm like, oh, she's still hot.
Oh, she's dating a guy from the Ducks.
Goldberg?
The Mighty Ducks?
Sheldon Surrey.
Ah.
A 6'4" defenseman for the Anaheim Ducks.
Can he do a knuckle puck, though?
I'm sure he's doing a knuckle shuffle.
Yeah, so I would assume everybody here is not watching this show, right?
No.
No.
Hell no.
Good.
No interest.
Ohio Valley Wrestling is being sold. Danny Davis is going to sell it to somebody else, and he hasn't said who yet. But what do you think's happening with OVW? Just good? Bad?
Indifferent.
They've been irrelevant for a long-ass time, so it doesn't really matter. It's just another...
TNA will probably buy them.
Just another shitty little indie fed. Like, it doesn't matter.
I don't think TNA can buy anything. I don't even think that they can buy replacement light bulbs.
Probably merged together.
Yeah, they don't really hold the same status they used to. I'm personally not really invested, so I am indifferent as well.
Yeah, if this was Jim Cornette's OVW, then it'd be a hot property. But where it is now, it couldn't mean less.
Wasn't OVW, like, once upon a time, like, a WWE training facility?
Mm-hmm.
The one before FCW. Before they went, you know what, we could just do this better ourselves. NXT is so much better.
Mm-hmm.
It's ridiculous. What else we have here? Charlotte and Sasha Banks, or possibly Bayley, are going to be called up to the main roster soon and side with Paige. They're finally going to like do something with this goddamn angle. And it's more so a question of, do they bring up Charlotte and Bayley because that makes more sense, like they're both baby faces, and just kind of hold off a little bit because Bayley apparently hurt her hand or her arm or something.
She broke her wrist.
That's what it is? Yeah. Or do they bring up Sasha Banks because Sasha Banks is not hurt and is obviously one of the biggest women in the developmental NXT?
It doesn't really matter what they are down there. You can make them whatever you want when you bring them to the main roster.
Mm-hmm. I would rather see Charlotte and Bayley, because I think Sasha Banks would do better still sticking around NXT a little bit.
Yeah, but Charlotte and Sasha were a really awesome tag team. I don't know if you remember, they used to be together when they were, was it the BFFs?
BFFs.
It was great.
I mean, Charlotte and Sasha Banks and Bayley are all great, so we can't lose. I mean, it's not like they're bringing up Bull Dempsey.
I'll tell you how we lose. We're going to be left with that Dana Brooke character down in NXT.
Shit.
That's what I was about to say. I'd rather not see them get promoted and just for them to stay down at NXT.
I've got my arm and I'm rubbing it. That's all I know how to do.
They're gonna
terrible.
suck when they go to WWE though. Keep them down at NXT.
Yeah, I'd rather, if of the two of the three, Sasha Banks, Charlotte, and Bayley, I would probably prefer to see Charlotte and Bayley come up. I know Bayley's hurt, but still, like you guys were saying, they're doing so well down at NXT. Of Charlotte, if anybody, if I only had to pick one, Charlotte coming up. But I'm so worried about the future, although I probably shouldn't be. They don't really disappoint, but the future of women's wrestling down there in NXT. Because like you said, who do we have left after that? If we bring up all three of them, Becky Lynch is out on injury, right?
Mm-hmm.
And, then you got Dana Brooke and Carmella and
Alexa Bliss.
Alexa Bliss.
Okay, we got Alexa Bliss. I like her.
Camilla is pretty fit. I like
You got Eva Marie coming in, who I think is going to surprise a lot of people.
We got
God,
Blue
I hope
Pants.
so.
Blue Pants.
I like Blue Pants.
Blue Pants technically isn't signed, though.
I know, I was going to say she's not officially a member
They have
of the
a
roster.
lot of people that they haven't debuted yet, and the most important person is still down there, and that's Sarah Del Rey. So I wouldn't be so pessimistic about it.
No, I'm giving them the benefit of the doubt. But my other note is that when they do bring up some of the ladies to the main roster, please let them do what they've been doing in NXT. Don't make them into an Emma. Basically, don't fucking drop the ball like they did there.
Hell, even Emma's back in NXT more than she is
no.
on the main roster.
They didn't drop the ball with Emma. Emma was just terrible.
See, Emma's not bad in the ring, but she's got a terrible character.
The character was terrible. It only caught on in the NXT crowd because they're too smart for their own good. Like, when you actually put that in a big stage in front of people, they're going to laugh at that shit.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, Adam Rose.
Exactly. Another perfect example.
Yep.
Yeah, it's a shame, but I mean, at the same time, like, you got to bring them up at some point, and if they bring up, I mean, Charlotte's like a guarantee they're going to bring up Charlotte, but if they bring up like Sasha Banks or something like that, is she still working as a heel in NXT? I haven't actually checked out the past couple episodes.
She's kind of like...
She's in between at the moment. She's feuding with Emma and what's her name?
She's a cool heel. We'll say that.
Because didn't they just turn somebody else too?
Like
in that same kind of thing? No, for the men. What was it? Oh, Tyler Breeze. Like, is she kind of doing that kind of thing?
No, Tyler Breeze is straight babyface now.
Oh, he's not even like tweener?
No, he's babyface.
Huh. Man, I really got to catch up on my NXT. But I'm curious about that, though, because then, like, the top heel in NXT would be probably Alexa Bliss, I guess.
I mean, yes and no. I mean, I feel like they're putting more promotional material behind Dana Brooke, actually.
Yeah, I was going to say Dana Brooke. They're fucking man-arms.
They've been putting her to the moon. They have to get some new women down there. It's going to be the ultimate thing.
Yeah. One more hot tag to talk about is something that is not really confirmed yet, but it's something that's been speculated and talked about or whatever. But there's a possible ban on the word backbreaker in WWE now. And we've seen this happen before. I mean, you're not supposed to say belt. You're not supposed to say wrestler. I mean, they've kind of gotten a little bit more relaxed about that recently and stuff, but they ban moves, they ban certain phrases and stuff, and backbreaker, if they ban that, what would be the reasoning?
From my understanding, they think it sounds a little violent.
It's supposed to be.
But I mean, thing. It is violent, but it's also like cartoonish violence, and maybe they just think that's over the line. I mean, it's their product, and they're free to present it how they want.
So, what are they going to start calling these backbreaker moves now?
I mean, really, are you going to notice? Like, if you didn't read this in a dirt sheet thing, would you really notice that they're not calling backbreakers?
It probably would take me a while, but if they just started this, I think one of the reasons why I wouldn't have noticed is Orton hasn't been on TV. Because he does do that backbreaker.
Just
like one of his main...
Yeah, but they can just go, oh, look at that move. Like, it's so easy to get around that.
Yeah, but after a while, I think I'd be able to like pinpoint that they just keep avoiding it, you know? Like with the Irish Curse, they don't have to call it the Irish Curse backbreaker. They can just call it the Irish Curse. But Orton doesn't have a name for that move. It's just like, hits him with the backbreaker. And especially somebody like a Byron Saxton.
Call it the snake bite or something.
I like that.
Why doesn't he have a move called that, actually?
Yeah, that does sound really cool. That would be like a perfect fucking name for that, the snake bite. Damn it, WWE. Called snake bite.
Do they still use the skull-crushing finale for The Miz?
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm.
That
sounds more violent.
That sounds brutal. That sounds like you take a skull and like hit it with a sledge-o-matic.
Right. Like, I can imagine them backstage going, backbreaker, that's a little bit too harsh. What about brainbuster? That's fine.
Yeah.
Do you remember Hernandez in TNA when he was in LAX, what his finisher used to be called?
No.
The border toss?
That was another movie he did.
The one, yeah.
That was great.
No, he had the cop killer.
Oh, jeez, the cop
Jesus
killer?
Christ. Yeah, he had a move called the cop killer.
They should have brought Big Boss Man in. Could have had a good feud.
Except he was dead.
He was dead at that point?
I don't know. He was killed from the cop killer.
Yeah, that's why. He could have tag teamed with Nails. He's probably dead too at this point.
I just think Vince has just gone a little bit old senile in his old age.
Maybe.
Like, you know, banning Seth Rollins' finisher, now banning backbreakers. What's next?
Because that doesn't sound too violent to me, the backbreaker.
Nah.
And it's not like it's like offensive for, you know, like some kind of like a racial thing or like, I don't know. I mean, shit, you've got the rack attack. And the rear view.
God.
Yeah.
Isn't the rack attack just a modified backbreaker, though?
It's a torture rack, which is a submission move.
What's Darren Young's finisher called?
The Lucky Strike or something?
Is that the power bomb into the like knee drop into the back or some shit?
No, it's like a fireman's carry into it.
See the gut check.
Something like that. Gut check? That's what it is? That makes sense. I'm trying to think of, like, a lot of these people, they have these finishers that I don't really know, like, necessarily the names of, because they don't even say them, and it's really awkward. Like, I mean, they always say, like, you know, Adrian Neville hits the, well, they don't say Adrian anymore, but, like, he's got the red arrow, and Rusev's got the accolade, but, like, does Heath Slater have a finisher?
I was trying to think what Tyson Kidd's finisher was the other day, apart from the sharpshooter.
Didn't Heath Slater do kind of like Shelton Benjamin's old move?
Heath Slater's finisher is...
The T-bone?
He has a springboard corkscrew splash. He has a smash hit. And it looks like that's it.
Smash hit. What the fuck is that?
Hit.
It's a spinning, lifting DDT.
That's lame.
Yeah.
Get a DDT finisher when they don't know what to do.
Can you look up what Tyson Kidd's finishers were? Because for the life of me, I couldn't think what they were the other day.
Sharpshooter.
Yeah,
I think outside of the sharpshooter...
Other than the sharpshooter, right?
I think outside of that, I think he used an elbow drop.
Swinging fisherman suplex.
Oh, yeah.
I knew he had a pin move.
Bottom line is they don't need to call it backbreaker. They can do lots of other things.
Especially if they call it the snake bite. I'm on board with that. Well, that'll round us out for the hot tags for this week. Everybody, leave your comments below. Tell us what you think about all these different subjects. Who would you put on the cover for WWE 2K15? What podcast do you listen to? especially when it comes to the wrestling side of things. Who should be caught up, if it's Charlotte and Sasha Banks or Charlotte and Bayley or somebody other ones? Are you going to check out WAGS? What do you think should happen with OVW, and is backbreaker too harsh? All of those different things. If we missed anything, leave a comment below, tell us that too. We'll try to respond back in some fashion or something like that. But we're going to take a little break right now. We're going to do the rest hold, and we're going to come back with the first of the two main events of the night, the mailbag questions. And we will see you in part 3.